there's this, like, narrative in the Muslim community that, like, basically if we just get good degrees and we work really hard and we speak perfect English, like, we can get there. And I think, like, there's lots of spaces where you can be totally accepted. Actually, like, a lot of spaces people are like, wow, you're a Muslim woman who can articulate, so that's amazing, right? So, like, people are just totally impressed by that. But I don't necessarily think of this idea of, like, striving for the American dream because of the fact that I work here and because of the fact that, like, I'm part of this community. I also know that there are people who will always be excluded from this dream, and that's like immigrants or people who are living in poverty, etc. They still, to a certain extent, are always marginalized, and, like, I want to make sure that these communities are uplifted. I could totally, like, pass and, like, you know, I could get to a space where I'm totally accepted by everybody, but that's not necessarily achievement for me. That's achievement for myself personally, but I want, like, my community to kind of have, like, dignity, if that makes sense. What I really, really want to teach youth is how to be critical of things, but also how to, like, work for social justice in their communities. And the thing about the United States is that there's always been this history of, like, racism. There's always been this history of fighting against it. And we have all these movements. And so, like, I want youth to join in with these movements and, you know, feel empowered because of what they're experiencing. And sometimes it's, like, because they're personally experiencing it, or sometimes it's just because their community is experiencing it, but it's channeling all of the frustration that comes with that into, like, social change and action.
So how do you give them advice on how to cope, just like the struggle you went through?
I think we do multiple things. Like, in the association, what we realize is that like, we want to organize youth and we want to organize our community, but there's also, like, this big aspect that we need to address of healing the community. And so sometimes youth just need a space to talk about things, and sometimes they just need a space to verbalize what they're experiencing. And especially, like, you know, when there are Brussels attacks or the Paris attacks, etc., the fear the next day, actually the Muslim community has, like, the biggest fear the next day because they're just afraid they're going to walk out the next day. And because of all the media depiction of, like, this, like, small group of people who did this, now it's like, you know, the whole community is implicated. A lot of times, like, especially in the association, that's when hate crimes spike up. That's when people are reporting things that are happening within their schools or on the ground. And so, like, we need to get them in a space and be like, how are you guys dealing with this? Are you guys scared? You know,
and what do they say? What do they say? Do they say?
I mean, yeah, they're scared. I mean, the youth are, in general, frustrated of constantly, first of all, having to defend their religion, having to defend their identities, and then also, like, feeling real fears of being attacked, right? So, like, you have youth who are like, I am afraid of going out in my hijab, or I'm afraid of standing too close to, like, the trail railings or whatever because someone's going to push me. Like, when somebody says that to you, like, that's scary, you know, because I think, like, everybody in the world is afraid to stay next to the train tracks, right? But actually, in New York City, we've had cases where people have been pushed, and then this is, like, a fear that's linked to racism. So when those things happen, we need to talk about that. We need to address it. We've had self-defense classes for a lot of Muslim women in our community, which are ways that, like, we can, like, tangibly help them feel like they're safe and protected when they're walking down the street, but also feel like they have power in their bodies to be able to protect themselves. And so those are really great. And we even have, like, a section of that class that specifically deals with, like, if somebody pulls your hijab off or something like that. So equipping them with the tools to be able to deal with it, letting them have a space to talk about it. And then giving them things to organize around, like letting them know that, like, you can change things, you can change narratives, you can change laws and policies, and here's how you do it, and let's do it together, and giving them, like, a positive space to channel all of this is really important.